So welcome to Satsang. If you have any questions. Hello, Ananda. So, Ananda, you write, contemplate your true being, unbound, unlimited reality. What distinguishes contemplation from thinking or mulling over concepts? So, contemplation, hello, Dolores. Contemplation, you could say, it includes thinking, but it includes thinking about truth, thinking about reality, thinking about consciousness, thinking about the beingness. So it's a particular type of thinking that is directed towards the source, while thinking about concepts is a little bit different. Of course, when we say consciousness, Ananda, we are using a concept because the very word consciousness is a concept. But what it refers to is not a concept. So, for example, mango, the word mango is a concept in a way. It's just a word that it's a convention, but it refers to this savoring the mango. It refers to an experience that is not a concept. So mulling over concepts that refer to the reality of consciousness, or that are contemplating the reality of consciousness, that would be contemplation. Mulling over concepts that refer to certain scientific models is you could say a contemplation of scientific models, or if you are contemplating concepts that have to do with the various food recipes, mixing this with that, and that would be a contemplation that pertains to degustation of food and creation of some new recipes and etc. So the contemplation, when I use the term contemplation, or when we use the term contemplation in our meeting, we are referring to a particular type of thought, a particular interest that relates to truth.
I guess I was thinking, as I was listening to you talk, it became more clear to me what I'm thinking is seems like it's a combination of some kind of a samadhi and thinking that takes it to the unlimited. Otherwise, it's thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we contemplate truth. We read about truth. We listen to the discourses of the sages. We read the scriptures in order to not just to gather some information, but in order for the flavor, the understanding that permeates these teachings becomes clear to us and transforms us, releases us, shifts us towards this understanding in various baby steps, or whichever way it occurs. So Samadhi then is like when you are contemplating consciousness, and at some point you enter into the contemplation. You start to sort of ponder the significance of what is being pointed towards, and you start to sort of get it. And as you're getting it, you're drawn by it. It takes over. It sort of fills your space. You are no longer standing out looking at it. You are being dissolved in it in a way, or it's dissolving in you, whichever way you want to put it. Then you are, it's as if you are on a remote, the contemplation is taking its course. And we don't know, you can start contemplating, for example, the borderless quality of consciousness. And as you're contemplating that, you don't know where you end up. Consciousness will take you on its own journey. It will reveal to you whatever it pleases, it chooses to reveal to you that pertains to it. So in samadhi, we are inside the understanding. We're absorbed by the understanding, and now it is the understanding that is living itself. There is less of a me and more of consciousness. And of course, the Sahaja Samadhi is there is more of an understanding, but there is no you, and you don't return. You shrink out of the samadhi, and then shrink back in later.
Right.
So what I want to sort of maybe insist on a little bit is that the thinking about consciousness is part of the contemplation. Thinking about the significance, the meaning of the teaching, or probing into a certain question that sort of is puzzling you and is speaking to you, as long as it pertains to consciousness, it is part of the contemplation. So don't get too hung up over samadhi, yes, because it's the entire contemplation is a contemplation of love, of joy, of beauty, of love, of happiness. So it all has its right place.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. It sounds like it's a intention to the to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the intention to realize the full realization of the self. When our intention is not to sort of toy with the contemplation, but to take the contemplation to its ending, meaning to no return. It's a journey of no return. You're going all out. You're not going to love halfway. You want to love fully. So this sort of intention is impersonal. It's not about a personal benefit, because the intention that has a personal benefit in it is starting with a conclusion. It's starting with an assumption that there is a separate reality, which is a me. So it's not a genuine, contemplation, because when you're very serious about your contemplation and your inquiry, you don't hold on to any assumption. You don't hold on to any belief. You examine your core, your most basic beliefs, and you release them. So the belief that that there is a person that is lacking something or seeking something or will attain or will obtain something, that we need to look at. Because I am not speaking about dropping the person just because the sages are saying drop the person, there is no person. We look if there is personal benefit that I will be getting, that means that there is a person right here, right now. So then I look at that, I say, well, what is the person right here, right now? Obviously, right here, right now, there are perceptions, thoughts, sensations. And obviously, what there is right now is consciousness. Now, what part of it am I going to call a person? What part of it am I going to call a person? There is obviously the sense of I am. And I am is this aware consciousness, this consciousness that knows that it is conscious. And the thoughts, the meditations, the memories, the perceptions, the bodily sensations, they're appearances. The appearances do not define consciousness. They appear and they disappear, and they appear out of consciousness and dissolve in consciousness. Where else would they appear from, and where else would they disappear? So we examine the assumption there is a person, because if there is a personal benefit, then there has to be a person. And I would be the first one to say, yes, there is a person. If I find one, or if in our conversation it is demonstrated that in fact there is a person, because I'm interested in truth. If there is a truth that there is a person, then I would be the first one to say, yes, there is. And I would be teaching, hey, there is a person, you are a person, you see? And I would be explaining that or sharing my understanding. But in my inquiry up to now, this is the inquiry that into the person that has basically came to the conclusion that there is an assumption of a person, but the assumption of a person does not, that the assumption that there is a person is not a evidence or a proof that in fact there is a person. So we need to examine our assumptions. So in the inquiry, we don't start with a conclusion. We start with a blank slate. And whenever we come to an understanding, the understanding, it deconstructs the false. You don't know. When there's an understanding, you know now. Yeah. And what is there to know? If you you ask yourself this question, what is there to know? There is the question is, what is this? What is it? What am I? Obviously I am. Obviously there is a perception. What is it? That is the question. That is the question. And the answer to that question has to come to your complete certainty, your complete certainty. Certitude. It cannot be like, yeah, oh, now I know, but, but this morning I was not so sure, now I'm a little bit more sure. It's not like
it's like, what I'm thinking is like, when you have done some inquiry and find something like, oh, all the distress is based on a certain idea, like of limitation, and without that idea, there's no distress. then you go like, oh, let's stay with that.
Yeah, absolutely, right on.
Yeah, let's not go back into the whatever it was.
Right. It becomes clearer and clearer.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. That was a great exploration.
Yes, okay, Nanda. Thank you. Hello, Renate. You can't see me. Oh, okay.
It's okay now. I dropped out and came in.
See,
so
okay. Yeah, okay.
It was for everybody. Okay. Everything's fine.
Very good. Okay, Renate. Okay.
But I might as well, as we, as I'm hooked up now, I might as well ask a question.
Sure.
I wonder, sometimes I'm a bit greedy for spiritual experiences, and I know that the experience just appears in my awareness, it comes and goes, and still sometimes I consider to use psychedelic stuff to give myself experience, and I know in the past it was I had some good experience with it, and also lasting, because the impact was strong, so that it lasted, and I got some kind of hands-on knowledge, if you know what I mean. And
yes.
And but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about it. If it is a, I'm just interested what you think about these things.
Yes.
If it's of value.
Yes. You know, Renate, let's say that you're okay, you're having okay life, you're enjoying your day, and you decide, oh, today everything is okay, I'm feeling well. It's getting like maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I'm going to go have dinner to this really wonderful restaurant that is, a few blocks away. I heard that they have a very good cuisine. So you dress up, maybe you call a friend, and you go to have this wonderful meal. And you have like a wonderful meal, a really good wine, nice company, nice ambiance, very lots of laughter and enjoyment and happiness. It's really beautiful. Yes, you have a wonderful time. And then you go back home. Yes. And then later, I don't know, next day or whatever, you remember this wonderful time you had. Yes. And you say, oh, gee, I remember this wonderful time. I want to have that experience again. You see, that experience I was happy for like 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever, enjoying it. I want to experience it again. Experience it again. And but now you have you have a budget, and you already spent enough money on going out, and so now when you're thinking about doing it, there are other considerations. Maybe you have some work to do. You have less free time, and so you maybe cannot go, and so you are bummed out. You're feeling, oh God, I'm really missing that. Or you go again, but this time it's not like the other time. Somehow, I don't know. The wine isn't like this as good. The cooking, maybe it had a little bit too much salt, or the chef, maybe he had a little bit more vodka than usual. I don't know, but it's not the same experience. And so you leave, and you are comparing how it was tonight with how it was yesterday, and you are not feeling like fulfilled. So, what I'm trying to say, Renate, is that an experience that you enjoy out of your happiness is is very beautiful, because you are basically celebrating your happiness, or celebrating your well-being, or celebrating being. You're celebrating being in having a wonderful experience, maybe having a nice dinner or whatever it is. But when you are going to experience something out of, like you need it, or something lacking, what you are doing is, via this activity, you are maintaining the lack. You will be disappointed, because this activity that you are doing is about fulfilling a lack, and you will not be able to fulfill the lack with an activity. If you contemplate the times when you are happy, these times that you are happy, that you were feeling spiritual, you were saying something greedy for being spiritual, those moments when you were feeling spiritual, they just came upon you. Maybe somehow somebody told you, oh, let's go to listen to this talk. There is this Advaita teacher speaking. Let's go. You went like that. You went, and you felt so beautiful. You felt this great spiritual happiness, let's say. Okay, it's actually, there is no such thing as spiritual happiness. It's just happiness. You felt happy. You felt happy. But now you are looking for it. You say, okay, it's gone. Now I need to find it somewhere else. While you experience the happiness, just it came to you. You see, it came to you. Now you are seeking it. So when you are seeking happiness, it is different from when you experience happiness. When you are seeking happiness, there is an assumption, Renate. That's a crucial assumption, that you are lacking. You are something lacking. Whatever you call it, a woman, a man, a human being, an entity, whatever you want to call it, that's lacking. It's lacking. And why are you experiencing this lack is the question you need to ask yourself. I am experiencing this lack because there is a comparison somewhere in my mind. There is a thought that is arising in my mind. Because right now, Renate, right in this very moment, all is well. Right now, in this very moment, all is well. Because there is no thought in your mind. You are just simply being. And there is a conversation that's arising in openness, in beingness. There isn't a thought in your mind, but Renate. But whenever there is a thought about your mind, there is an image, a me image, that is comparing image A with image B, or a memory A with memory B, or a feeling. You're remembering a feeling. When you're remembering a feeling, what is this memory, Renate? You have to look at it. This memory is an image that is arising, and this image arises, and the body resonates the image. It reverberates the image. And when an image arises that has in it, oh, I was happy yesterday, okay, I remember I was happy yesterday, the body, mind, will feel unhappy. Will feel unhappy. And so then the thought will arise, oh, I need to drink something, I need to make love with my lover, I need to drink some vodka, I need a psychedelic experience, I need to go to a retreat, etc. It will look for something to cover up the sense of lack. Now, happiness is not an experience. Happiness that is an experience would be dependent on the experience. For example, if you are happy because you bought a new car, your happiness is dependent on that car remaining new or running really well, no flat tire, nobody steals the car, no accident in the car, etc. A happiness that is dependent on a certain cause, on a certain reason, is not the full happiness. It is a momentary sensation. You could call it a pleasure, you could call it a moment where a certain desire has been fulfilled. There are moments where certain desires are fulfilled, and at that moment you feel the end of that desire. And because that desire has ended, there is an experience of peace. Because peace is really the desirelessness. This does not mean the end of celebration. There is a difference between end of desire, end of the sense of lack, end of the I need this, I need that, and celebration. So you could celebrate all sorts of things in life out of your sense of freedom. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'd like to go to Hawaii. I plan to go to Hawaii and so on. At the last minute, my cousin is sick and I have to go visit my cousin in the hospital. No problem. Because my happiness isn't depending on my trip to Hawaii. If your happiness is depending on a spiritual experience, Renate, you are not pursuing the right happiness. Because a happiness that depends on anything, you know that, is an experience. All experiences are limited in time and space. So you have to again have the next psychedelic trip, or the next trip to Hawaii, or then you have to buy yourself the next necklace, or etc., etc., etc. Because it is momentary. We are speaking about happiness, not about a momentary experience. Happiness is not a momentary experience. Happiness is peace, is freedom, is well-being, is contemplation. When you contemplate these tricky thoughts, because it's a trick, Renate. You are like a fish in the water, you're good. But then you see something, what do you call, hameçon, the lure that comes in the water from the fisherman. It's shiny, yes? So you go for it, you see? But you are okay in the water. You're not swimming, looking for whatever you find to eat. And then you see, lure, come. You rush. You grab it. But when you grab it, then you have the hook in your mouth, you see? And now you are, where is that beautiful thing that you wanted, you see? Happiness is our true nature, yes? Happiness is peace, is beingness, yes? It's the core of being, yes? The core of being, this simple presence. The simple presence. Simple presence. I know the mind says, no, we're talking about a beautiful sunrise. We're talking about people applauding you. We were talking about a very nice samadhi. No, the simple beingness. You see? You see? Somebody asked a sage, what's so special about you? What is so special about you? The sage says, what's special about me is that there is nothing special about me. It's you who are asking these questions. You have all these ideas about special things about you, and special positive things and special negative things. You know how special it can be a negative or a positive. But there's nothing, I'm special because there's nothing special about me. You see, consciousness is everything. It's the simple presence, the resting in presence. Resting in presence. You see, presence is not given to you as an experience, a psychedelic experience or whatever. It's not given to you. It is what you are. This does not mean you cannot enjoy really nice experiences. You can enjoy them, but not in order to get your happiness.
I get it. Okay.
So,
the sense of lack seems to come up again and again, and
the sense of lack, yes.
Yes, yeah.
It's okay. The sense of lack will continue to rise. It's not a big deal. But when you continue to contemplate that you are not defined by a sense. You're not defined by a feeling. You're not defined by a sensation. Because you perceive the sensation, you perceive the feeling. Even if the feeling is in your chest or your belly or your neck or your face, it's still something that requires consciousness to perceive it. So you're perceiving that. It doesn't define you. What you perceive doesn't define you. If you perceive a fire, the fire doesn't define you. If you perceive a lake, the lake doesn't define you. Nothing that you perceive defines you. Nothing defines consciousness. You see? Nothing defines consciousness. We give too much importance to feelings, to emotions. We want to feel in a certain way. We think that enlightenment is, I have to feel like this and like that. But if you ask a sage, you say, how do you feel? You know, the question, it really has no meaning. How do I feel? Okay. Sage that says, oh, I'm feeling bhakti, I'm feeling light, and I would be wary. I would say, oh my God, this is a very strong psychedelic. I would be wary because I know that at some point or the other, there's going to be a crash. You see, because consciousness is not this bhakti thing. It is everything. It is a sunrise, a beautiful sunrise, and it's also just this cloudy sky. It is also the breath. It is everything. Everything is consciousness. So we pursue experiences way too much, Renate. Way too much. We have this idea that we have to experience some experiences, We have this idea, and we're looking for some experience. I know that, but experience, even if it lasts 3 years, 8 years, 10 years, believe me, at some point it's not going to be. It's going to change. Oh, I was happy in my marriage. Oh, it's so how long? Oh, 6 years, and now what happened? Oh, we don't talk to each other. Oh my God, what happened? What happened? Experience is a little bit like that. Is constantly conditional. It's conditional. But consciousness is just peace, beingness, to be still. So it's just when a certain experience arises, it's okay. It's not about suppressing it. It's just about giving it its entire space, the entire space of consciousness. You give it the entire space. This thought that arises says, I'm lacking. It's a feeling. It arises as a feeling. Feel it. Allow it to just, feel it. Breathe, give it your vast breath, the vastness of being. Say, okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. I am not running after you, or I am not running to chase you. I am not pushing you away, nor am I holding on to you. I purely am. I am. See? So turn your attention during your normal daily life, whenever possible, to simple being. You don't need to wait for those feelings to arise. Not a moment where just normal, like now, right now, just right here, just being. Just turn your attention as you are here, just being, just pure being. The more you turn your attention to being, the more being flourishes and blooms into being. It blooms into being, and then you find that it's there. You see, it comes easy, very quickly. Being comes. So familiarize yourself with being during your normal daily life, but not a particular experience. You know, in Buddhism, they speak about the not knowing mind. Don't have an idea of what it is. Because an idea is something that's arising. It's a thought. It changes. After you have a dinner, it's a different. When you're hungry, it's different. It changes. Yes? Just turn your attention to simple being without knowing what it is. Being is presence. Being is peace. Is borderless presence. It's true nature. It's there. It's what we are. You don't need to fabricate it. It is there. It is what I am. Yes? Yes.
Thank you, Martin.
Yes. Yes, Advaita. Nice to talk to you.
Good to be reminded
Yes.
again and again.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you for your question, Anati. Yes. So any question?
I have a very a little story to demonstrate my question.
Okay.
So I just came from the orthodontist,
Mm-hmm.
person who does root canals,
Yes.
and I have to have a root canal. my first time
Oh.
for root canal. So I looked into it. I think I'm going to save about $1,600 by going to, and have a nice little trip as well on going down to Tijuana to a clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling my mother about it on my drive home from the orthodontist, and my mother says first, "Oh, don't do that. Go to a real good one here, you know."
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, "Well, I guess you're going. Well, be careful in Tijuana. Don't sleep in your van, whatever you do." Things like that. Concern about all kinds of things. Well, I can see that those I mirror my own concerns, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that she's dramatically demonstrating the fear.
She's the mother, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate, you know. I said no. I stay away from the red lights district and the gambling, and don't sleep out on the highway. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'll be fine. But as I said, so this brings up the issue of that life is dangerous on one level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in terms of what can happen.
Sure.
And how to be completely okay with that fact. Because you can't dismiss it completely, but
well, I mean, you know that if you ingest arsenic will make you very sick, and if you take enough of it, the body will will die. You know, for example, that if you live next to a volcano that is active,
Yeah.
that there is a possibility that you may suddenly have to evacuate your home if you're lucky, or get
You may suddenly.
or get evacuated. Yes. You know these things, yes. So you know, for example, that in certain neighborhoods in the city there are higher crime rate, or there are certain places in the world that are, you know, very unstable, and there is a lot of abuse, and so you know that. So how to be okay with that was your question?
Well, it just demonstrates there's so-called danger always. Every time you go on the freeway, every time.
Yes, the dangers.
Rear-ended, you know, you have no control over it.
But the dangers are to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't eat for I don't know how, 20, 30 days, I don't know, I'm just guessing, then the body will die. There are dangers to the body if you drive at very recklessly. There's a very high chance that you're going to hurt, and even worse, to hurt somebody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what gets hurt is the body, you see. So you are not the body. The body is an element among other elements, and it is in relationships. You know, there are conditions. You know, if you go out in the winter and you wear summer clothes, you may catch a tuberculosis. Well, you may catch a cold. You will get sick. Yes, the body will get sick. You see, but you are not the body. So that is how you reconcile with these things. You come to the understanding of what you are, that you are not what is subject to conditions, but on the other hand, the body is subject to conditions. And so you, out of the intelligence, because you are the intelligent keeper or caretaker of the body, you make the right choices. When there is a red light, you stop. When you are satiated, you stop eating, etc. You make the right decisions to be a good manager and enjoy the company of this body in a way. So does that relate to your question?
Yeah. That seems like the main thing. Something else came to me. It just slipped away then. Slipped away.
Yeah. So you know, your mom, you know, she loves her son because she perceives you to be her son, which is very lovely. And of course, you know, upon the contemplation of the self, we come to realize that we are all, you know, one. We are all the love. So then our love for our children, of course, is very particular, because this is what's been given to us in a way in our managerial field where we have this sort of relationship. But the problem is with the identification, that we identify with our children, we identify with our parents, we identify with our religion, we identify with our tribe, we identify with our beliefs, with our ideas, etc. And so then we have the experience of unhappiness and limitation, a sense of limitation. But I think in your question, the things that are happening in the world relate to the world. They do not relate to consciousness. Nothing happens to consciousness. You see? So when it says, it's saying nothing is happening to you, they are pointing to the reality of the self, that is not subject to the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the perceptions. So this is what you need to remain as. You need to remain in your knowingness of yourself as presence, as consciousness, as peace, as well-being. And the body is, you take care of the body as best you can, with the complete understanding and contemplation that the body is a temporary manifestation, and it's constantly changing, because your experience of the body now and the experience of the body at the age of 12, when the body was 12 years old, is a completely different experience, drastically different experience. And if you look at the experience of the body now and the experience of the body that you experienced last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's completely different. It's completely different. So the body is an element, a flow, a mentation and a sensation. But when you look really closely at the body, you don't find an actual body. You only find sensation, perception, mentation, images. You don't actually find a body. If you go to your hand and you find a sensation, or you find a perception, yes? You don't find a body, or you can call it a body, which is a thought, and you say, oh, that's a body. Okay, so no problem. I have no problem with calling whatever you want to call a body, but very clear that that's a conceptual realm. But when you really look at the conceptual realm, you find the reality of the conceptual realm to be consciousness. The reality of the mind is consciousness.
So I remember what the other thing that came to me as a question, and it's related to what you've just been saying. In the analogy of a movie screen and the images on the screen, we can see the images are nothing but, especially on a pixelated screen like this, the screen, the movie is nothing but the screen.
Yes, yes.
Okay, but and that analogy is great. And then translating the analogy into freedom from the body concerns, then there's a much more palpable perceptual feeling, everything.
Yes.
And so I'm just thinking how to, and what you were saying really actually does address it. It's like looking at finding that it's as almost nebulous or as unsubstantiated as the pictures on the screen. Yeah,
because when you go to a bodily sensation, where do you go? Where do you go? Let's say you have a sensation in your hand, so you turn your attention to your hand. You have a perception, but when you turn your attention to the perception, if you turn your attention to the perception of your hand, you're only turning your attention to your perception. Your perception is awareness. In other words, the idea that there is an objective reality out there, that idea is not an evidence. It's not evidence that there is an out there. The idea, the thought of an out there is not evidence of an out there. It's only an evidence of the idea.
Well, I think of it like this too. I am wondering about this. Even if there is an out there, it's in here.
Yes, right. Well, one way of looking at it is like, if there is an out there, then the out there has to be real.
It has to be perceived by. Well, it depends on me.
Yeah, but yes. just to follow with what I was going to share,
Yeah,
is that if there is an out there, and it's not a theoretical out there, it has to be a real out there, because what's the point of an out there that's not real? Okay, so there is a real out there. So we say we agree. There is an oak tree out there, and is real. There is a reality to this oak tree out there. Yes,
okay.
We agree. Let's say we start with that. Now let's pause and go to consciousness. We know that in our experience, this very moment, the reality of our experience is consciousness. Yes? Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Without it, there's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, right. There's a reality of consciousness. That's reality. So, and we know that there is one reality. We know intuitively that there is one reality. One way of thinking about it is if there were two realities, what would know that there are two realities? There has to be a reality that knows there are two realities. So we come back to one reality. So we know that there is one reality, and we've established this reality to be consciousness. And now we say there is another reality out there called the oak tree. You know, when it comes to me, they're the same. So I don't care if you call reality consciousness, or if you call it oak tree, or if you call it life, or if you call it bananas. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you come to the understanding that the reality of the oak tree and the reality of consciousness are one. Yes? Yes? Now, we know that perceptions are constantly changing. For example, like I turn my head this way, I'm no longer seeing the oak tree, I'm seeing the kitchen table, for example. Yes? So we know that there is the perceptions keep changing, but consciousness doesn't change. So I say, oh, okay, I understand that the reality of the oak tree is consciousness. I understand the reality of the table is consciousness. I understand the reality of a sensation is consciousness. I understand the reality of the thought is consciousness. I understand all that. But I also understand that it's simpler, and it's more, somehow makes more sense to call this reality consciousness.
Right. Rather than the laborious.
Then say, okay, you know, right. Right. Because in the teaching, when it comes to reality, the teaching goes two ways. One of them is consciousness is real, and the world, body, mind is consciousness's dream. It's not. The reality belongs to consciousness. It does not belong to you as this particular body, or you, this particular body, mind. It only belongs to consciousness. That's one way in which the teaching is shared. Another way to share the same teaching, it's the same teaching, is to say that the reality is consciousness as well as everything else. Meaning, I as consciousness, because I know that I am consciousness, I am everyone and everything. So I am consciousness, meaning the reality, the one reality, and not the objective world. There is no other reality but me. But everything else that appears is also this one reality. But what is incorrect, what is ignorance, is to believe that there is a reality A and reality B and the reality C, etc. That there are multiple realities.
This is getting a little bit out there philosophically, but somebody was reminding me recently that it used to be the yoga, the Vedanta yoga there was Purusha, which was like the formless reality, and Prakriti, which was the expression, the whole manifest. And that the challenge of a human being was to be fully aware of the Purusha and not just lost in the prakriti, the relative,
Yes.
which I guess really amounts to the same.
Yes. You know, when we look at the relative, we're basically looking at perceptions, appearances, sensations, thoughts. That's what we're looking at. We call it the relative. And we are lost in the relative when we identify ourselves as a separate entity. Because right now, there are perceptions, bodily sensations, and thoughts. Yes? But there isn't anything being lost. What is being lost? Presence is not lost. Yeah. Why? Because at this moment, I am not experiencing myself to be a separate entity. Now I'm speaking, generically. When I'm experiencing myself as a separate entity, then I have created instantaneously the infinite forms. When I create when I separate one, I separate everything. And
that's why the dream analogy is so good. As soon as you're the dream character, there's a whole surround field.
Yes. The green, like the color green. Yes, that's what you said.
No, I said dream. As soon as you're a dream character.
Oh, the dream character. Yes.
Then you've got the surround.
Yes, absolutely. When you separate one character, then you've separated it from other characters, from other forms, so this is what is when we say I am lost in thoughts. There is not the issue. We say, oh my God, there are so many thoughts, we need to fix the thoughts. No. We need to look at this I. You are at that moment, you have mistaken the wholeness of being to be the I thought, an identity, a body-mind identity, a separate sense of sensation, a separate sense of self. That is what we refer to as being lost. I am lost in thought, or lost, that term that you used, that I'm not familiar with that term, but that term. That's what it is. The prakriti is when I separate myself. Now, in this very moment, you ask yourself, is there any separation? And if there is, what is it? We need to look at that right now. We need to look at that. Is there any separation? What is it? So let's say somebody says, well, I'm feeling separate. Okay, you're feeling separate. But the invitation then is to contemplate if that feeling, how can a feeling define you? How can something that you're experiencing? There is no denying. I'm not trying to deny somebody saying, I am feeling separate. It's okay, we stay with that. But you can ask yourself, we can take it a step further and ask ourselves, how could somebody that I'm experiencing define me? Like I experience an oak tree. It doesn't define me. I experience a thought. Right. How could something I'm experiencing? And you just stay with that question. If a thought arises, says, yes, I am separate from you, then say, okay, I hear that thought and I can feel that thought. But how can a thought, something that I'm experiencing, how can a thought know? Is there knowingness in the thought, or does the knowingness belong to that perceives the thought, that knows the thought. Where does knowingness reside?
I just give you an example, because it's in the actual example that the thing seems to have reality. So I have someone who was a big part of my life in the past stole money and property from me. And I hear those words, me, you know what I mean? I hear the story as I say it. And it seems like there's a certain stickiness or opaqueness about that story. I just use it as the example because because it had a jolt. It was a jolt of, I mean, somebody could.
But any jolt doesn't define you. Nothing that occurs defines you, except if you choose to let yourself be defined by it. But the fact that you're experiencing something, whatever you're experiencing appears to you, and doesn't define you. You know it, but it doesn't know anything about you.
Oh, it doesn't know anything about me, about the awareness of it.
Yes. Everything you experience, you experience it. It doesn't experience you. It doesn't know you. You know it, right?
Right.
So, but then you look at these thoughts that arise. The thought says, she stole money from me, for example. That thought says, and there's a thought, you can even write it down on a piece of paper. She stole something from me. It's a thought, yes?
Right.
So that thought,
yeah,
you know that thought.
Right.
But that thought doesn't know anything about you. So that thought that says, she stole money from me, that thought doesn't know what me is, what she is. That thought doesn't know you. Right?
This is bizarre. This is, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
The thought doesn't know you, right?
Yeah, right.
So how can you listen to this thought? I mean, it's like, okay, like a boat goes by in the ocean. You see the boat. Okay, it doesn't define, you just see the boat. Here you're seeing a thought. Okay, it's not a boat, it's not an image, it's a thought. Right?
Yeah.
You see the thought, but the thought doesn't know anything about you. Right?
Yes.
I'm asking simple questions.
Yeah, the thought doesn't know
anything about you. You
right.
You know the thought doesn't know you, right?
Right.
So why do you listen to it?
Right.
It doesn't know anything about you. Now let's look at the feeling. Let's say you're feeling that you got robbed. Yes? You're feeling it in your chest, and you're feeling that feeling. You perceive that feeling, right?
Right.
That feeling doesn't know anything about you.
That feeling certainly doesn't know borderless spaciousness.
That feeling, whatever it is, you can color it pink, yellow, blue, whatever. That feeling is an appearance.
Right.
Yes? Yes?
Right. So it doesn't know. It's not a knower. It's not a knowing entity.
Yes. That's it. You got it. The thought is not a knowing entity, right? It has no knowingness in it. So why do you listen to it? I mean, wouldn't you rather have a conversation with knowingness? I mean, wouldn't you listen? You're better off going to a concert, listen to a nice concert, or go to, if you like, I don't know, if you like painting, to go to a painting class where somebody knows about painting will teach you about painting.
Yeah.
But we spend our time listening to thoughts and sensations, and they don't know anything about us. Okay. That's just, it's a side. It's a side. It's just a little drop of just questions, just something to ponder about, ponder about. But the core of our angst in our life is when we choose, we're not even aware of that, but we choose to get defined. We choose to, we allow ourselves, or we, whatever the word is, we agree to get defined. We agree to get defined as, you name it, as a person. What is a person this very moment? What am I this very moment? I choose to define myself as, I have images, say Magdi, there are images as fill in the blank, whatever it is. I know there are a lot of pages and pages, you can fill pages, but there's still a bunch of thoughts and images, and that's what they are. We choose to define ourselves. No matter how widely we define ourselves, it's still limited. The self is undefined. Peace is undefined. War is defined. Army A is wearing the red helmets. Army B is wearing the blue helmets. You see?
I just got a great idea. You have special glasses. You wear the same color as the other army. But your team sees that it's not.
I see. Okay.
They should hire me as a consultant.
That would be a nice skit. Yes, I got you.
I just want to tell you another story is I got audited, IRS.
Yes.
Out of the blue. I didn't expect it. And they sent me a refund. They said, our calculation shows you overpaid.
Nice.
So maybe it doesn't quite balance the other one. But it just shows the stuff appears, Stuff appears. I know if you're believing that you're a body, if I'm believing that I'm a body mind, then I'll want to say, what am I grateful for today? That kind of meditation. I have, this and that, good things. And what you're saying goes just beyond it altogether.
Anything, any meditations you do, whatever you call them, that are building upon ignorance, they're infected with ignorance. You have to go to the core of ignorance, this belief that I'm a male, a female, I'm a mortal body mind. That is the core of ignorance. The diminution of your wholeness, the reduction of your wholeness to an individuality, whatever beautiful term you call it, human, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's a reduction.
Yes.
That reduction, anything you try to improve upon that reduction is still going to be reduced, because at the base is a huge fault. You're building, and it's going to crumble. It's a matter of time. It will crumble. Actually, start crumbling right away because it's infected.
I heard a saying one time: "Small and vast are both small," because vast isn't big enough.
Yes, the vastness of being has no opposite.
Right.
The qualities of consciousness have no opposites. The qualities of the mind have opposites. Big, small, blah, blah. Freedom, non-freedom. It's at the mind level. But freedom from the consciousness level has no opposite. Because what if freedom had an opposite, then freedom would be limited, right? Because this is freedom, and now here is the opposite of freedom. There has to be some demarcation line somewhere where freedom comes to the edge of itself, and now it's non-freedom.
Right.
What sort of freedom? What is the meaning of limited freedom? It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You follow?
Yeah.
Yes. So the qualities of consciousness have no opposite. Beauty, love,
Mm-hmm.
freedom, intelligence, wisdom, joy, compassion, they have no opposite.
Mm-hmm.
They are absolute. That's why I think one of the terms for consciousness is the absolute.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know in what tradition, but there are traditions where they use that term, the absolute. I use it sometimes, the absolute, because it speaks, it says something that pertains to consciousness. It has the contemplation of consciousness in it.
I remember growing up, I used to always think a big term was unconditioned consciousness, but then I realized sometime kind of recently, may as well throw away the unconditioned.
Yes, throw it on.
Because it's consciousness.
Yes.
It's not consciousness if it's in the conditioned, unconditioned.
Right, yes.
Realm.
Consciousness is absolute. That's why we say the ultimate reality. There is one reality that has no opposite, second to none. You can call it consciousness, you can call it absolute, you can call it beingness, presence. But the experience of it is what really matters for us to come to the living experience of our wholeness, which is the experience of causeless peace and transparency of being.
Right. I mean, yeah. I so appreciate your generosity with your time and going into these things in such fullness. Yeah.
Well, satsang is love and its beauty and its intelligence and its joy and freedom. Who wouldn't want it?
But I want to say to everybody else on the Hangout, I don't mean to monopolize the time. Speak up if you want to talk. I just want to say that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I'll always back off if there's another question. But I certainly appreciate it. I think it goes so far. It goes when there's every little back and forth bit expands the real freedom, because we're sharing from that satsang reality.
Yes.
That's my feeling.
Yes. In satsang, we experience this wholeness, this oneness. It's not a personal, the person sort of dissolve in the wholeness of being in satsang, which is very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And all our questions and our contemplations, they speak about that wholeness, about the reality of the self. So it's very soothing, and because it's resonating with the reality of the truth, and it's just full of the perfume of the self, the joy, the love, the understanding. We all find something in satsang. There is something for all of us in satsang.
Mm-hmm.
And it's may be at the silent, at just the beingness level, or it could be also at the aha, I got that,
Mm-hmm.
and both.
Mm-hmm.
So, any question, anyone? Okay, well, as usual, thank you very much for your lovely company and your friendship and your love. And we'll see you again in a few days.
Thank you.
Namaste, all of you. Much love to you all.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Hi, Lida.